Welcome to Disciple Bible Study, Session 10. Tonight we're talking about the ministry of Elijah the prophet and what a delightful figure he is, and how interesting it is that he turns the people's hearts toward how they're living and asks the question of how they are caring for the poor, or if they're doing the right things. King Ahab wanted Naboth's vineyard. It had the best grapes. And it wasn't just because they wanted to eat the grapes. The best grapes produced the best wine. And so Ahab is having this man killed so that he can have his vineyard. Coveting, wanting something that doesn't belong to you, is very destructive. We know this. It's one of the top 10, thou shalt not covet. One of the great prayers that we can learn to pray is to be thankful for what we have. Because when we're thankful for what we have, I no longer covet what someone else has. If I see my 2005 Honda Civic with 116,000 miles as enough of a car and a fine car, and I'm grateful for that car, then I don't have to covet, as difficult as it is, I don't have to covet the 2012, the 2013 Ford Mustangs. I'm still working on that. In terms of helping the poor, thinking about the poor, often the poor are out of sight, out of mind. We live in a nice home. We have plenty of food on the table. There are people every day in our city, at our sister church, Camino Verdad y Vida, that eat very little and live on a very, very small budget. How are these people in our minds? And not just the Hispanic population, but there are poor all over our city. How are they in our hearts and minds? This is one of the wonderful joys of being involved in mission at Woods Chapel Church, is you have the opportunity to really help others in need. And I hope that you consider that not as an obligation or a duty, but that you look at your life, and if you see that you're blessed, then I hope in your heart there's this desire to want to give back, to give generously, to help and care for others. Our lives are out of balance when we consume everything that comes our way. Our lives become fruitful and joyful and full when we find ways to give and care for the poor. When we talk about the poor, it's important to ask ourselves, are we buying clothes that were made in clothing mills where somebody's being paid a quarter an hour or $1 a day? And what can we do about that? Is there anything that we can do about that? When I look on a piece of clothing and it says it was made in a certain country, or it was made in Malaysia, I wonder, what does that mean? What's on the other end? What are the lives of those people like? When we buy coffee, do we buy free trade coffee? Do we even know what that is? There's a whole line of free trade products where when you buy them, they may cost a little more, but the people, theoretically, the people involved in marketing and buying and selling these are paying the originator, the grower of the coffee, the maker of the piece of art. They are paying them a fair price to where they can make money and enjoy a decent living. In Elijah's time, they faced struggles with idols. What are our idols? I would say to you, our idols are anything that we love too much, anything that we hold dear, anything that we start to get mad if we were considering losing them. If you have a car that it would just kill you to lose, I have a pickup truck that I dearly love. There's the possibility of that becoming an idol. Our homes, our jobs, our children are clearly things that can easily to us become idols. Anything that we put before God. And I think the best way to fight against idolatry is to simply work on putting God first. Not that we have to eradicate, to get rid of our favorite truck or get rid of our children, heaven forbid. Eradicating idolatry is not about getting rid of things, usually, though it might be. Eradicating idolatry really happens the most effectively when we put God first, and we're loving God, deeply loving Him, and we're using the things that we have to bless others in God's name. That's how I think we constructively fight against living lives that are idolatrous. There is a doctrine in Christianity commonly called the prosperity gospel. It's the idea that if you're faithful, God will bless you. And it teaches people that they could and should have more, and they ought to pursue more things. And I could tell you some of the people that teach that doctrine, but I don't want to disparage other pastors. I'm sure you've heard it. You know it's out there. I would say to you that I personally completely, totally reject the notion that the Christian faith is in any way about me gaining wealth or me attaining wealth, or that somehow because I'm faithful, I'm going to have more. I know pastors that are wonderful pastors, that are great preachers, that are living on minimum salary out in the middle of nowhere, that haven't been blessed with a nice big church. The blessings that we have are not because we're good or that because we deserve them. They are simply blessings that come to us from God, and we need to be very, very grateful for them. And we need to understand that the Christian faith actually invites us not to take to ourselves, but to divest of ourselves, to give away the things that we have, to use our life and our things as an engine or a motor to bless others. Remember, Abraham was blessed so that he could be a blessing. And we've been blessed not so we can get more and more and more, but we've been blessed so that we can give to others and care for them. Well, let's talk a little bit about the role of a prophet or a pastor or a leader. The prophets didn't really care what the people thought. The prophets just told it the way they saw it. They were upset about something, and you were going to get an earful. And they would woe to you this and woe to you that. The role of a pastor is different, because if you're a pastor, you need to have a relationship with the people. And if a pastor always talks like a prophet, it's very easy to drive the people away. It's very easy to hurt them. And so it's important to build relationships and care about the people. If I want to help somebody make a change in their spiritual life, it takes more than just me telling them that this is an important thing to think about. People will hear you on difficult things if you build relationships with them, if you build trust with them. They're much more likely to listen calmly and be open to what you're thinking when a pastor speaks prophetically. I would ask you to spend some time talking in class today about how you feel about some of the things that you hear in sermons. There's an old saying that a pastor is to comfort the afflicted, but afflict the comforted, afflict the comfortable. So that there's this very delicate balance in church of things that should comfort and encourage us, but things that should challenge and direct us. And how do you feel about the things that you're hearing in sermons? Do you like it better when you're feeling full and fed and loved and blessed? Or have you learned to like it and savor it when you're being invited to think about something that takes your brain to another place? When you're being challenged to think in a different way about your relationship with God or your relationship with others? Have you come to enjoy those messages and those people that press you and drag me kicking and screaming into a place where my brain has not been living? I can surround myself with people that make me feel good, and I like friends that are warm and kind and wonderful, and I'm sure you do too. But some of my favorite people are the people and the authors that think differently than I do, that cause me to look at the world in a different way. And so that's a question for you to consider tonight as you talk about the role of a prophet. How do you receive and deal with messages that you're not comfortable with? So thanks for letting me talk to you. If you haven't been to the worship center, this is it. We're just looking for another quiet place to make a video. God bless you. You're wonderful people. I'm so glad to have you here at Wood Chapel Church. I'm so privileged to be your pastor, and I just pray that God bless your time together tonight. Thank you.